together. Therefore we will start from Surah Al-Falaq, and there's a reason behind their revelation as well. One of the famous scholars, Hafidh ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, says that these surahs are so important for every Muslim. It's like eating and drinking and breathing. This is how important these surahs are. So like a person eats, drinks and lives, this is how important these surahs in the life of a Muslim are. So every Muslim should be aware of these surahs. They should know these surahs off by heart. They should utilize these surahs and they should bring them into their lives. And they're known as Mu'awwadhatain, the two surahs through which you seek Allah's refuge from evil things. The first Surah Al-Falaq, you seek refuge from the evils of this world, like magic and other evil things, creations of Allah, which can cause harm to us. And Surah An-Nas, you ask Allah refuge from the evils and the calamities of the hereafter, those things which will lead a person astray, which will destroy a person's deen, and ultimately make that person lose in the hereafter. So one of them is related to the worldly harms and calamities and difficulties, and one of them is related to the calamities and the difficulties of the hereafter. So you seek refuge in Allah from all of these things within this surah. And the reason of revelation behind these two surahs is the Prophet ﷺ, someone had done magic on him, and the Prophet ﷺ was made aware by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and these two surahs were revealed and he was cured from that magic. And this was a Jew at that time who acted like a Muslim. He even came in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ and attended his gatherings as well. And he had done magic on the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ was informed about this. And this lasted for about 6 months, where the Prophet ﷺ would do certain things, but he would forget that he'd done them. Obviously this would not affect wahi. So it's not like the Prophet ﷺ would forget any things of wahi, so revelation or ayahs of the Quran, or distort them or change them. This would never happen. But it would happen in practices of his daily life. If he did a task, he might have forgot that he'd done a task, and he might not recall doing that task. He would forget. So he was informed through angels in a dream as well. There's different narrations as to how he was informed. So there are some narrations which mention that Hazrat Jibreel came to him and informed him that someone had done magic, and they had taken a comb, and within the teeth of those comb they had tied some strings, and some mention that they had put needles in those strings and put them in the bark of a date palm, wrapped them in that and put them in a well. So because of that, the Prophet ﷺ was, and obviously cast this magic on that. And an individual called Labid ibn A'sam and his daughters had done this. And in another narration it's mentioned that two angels came in the dream of the Prophet ﷺ. One sat at his head side, one sat at his leg side. And they said, what's wrong with this person? And one of the angels said that he's been affected. Someone has done magic on him. And within that dream, these two surahs were revealed, and he was given the shifa for this through that dream with these two surahs of the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't actually tell the people that this person had done the magic on me, because he knew his Sahaba, how much they loved him. They might have caused them harm. So for personal motives and reasons, he did not want anyone to be harmed. To the extent that the Mufassirin mentioned that even when that person afterwards attended his gatherings, he did not show any effects. Sometimes when you know that someone dislikes someone, he did not show these effects. And some say that even if the Sahaba did know his name, they asked permission, shall we finish him off? The Prophet ﷺ said, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has cured me. Why do I need to cause any harm to this individual? So this was the mercy of the Prophet ﷺ. So he was cured from this. And in some other narrations mentioned that there was a khadim who had served the Prophet ﷺ. So that a Jew tricked that khadim and that servant boy into taking the comb of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is how this sort of magic is done. And the best and most effective thing is these two surahs. Later on we learn that these two surahs are the most effective for this. So calling other people, telling them to come and read on you, yes, to some extent it might be permissible, but the best thing is to do it yourself. And when you call these individuals, they cause more problems. Sometimes they themselves are affected the most, and they try to cause more problems and more difficulties than even before. So make this a practice that we do. So, and know that this only comes from Allah. But this is a cause and effect which does exist, and this, you can't deny this. Like fire burns, water, it extinguishes the fire, or water makes you cool, cold water, This is the cause of something and its effect. A knife cuts. So similarly like this, magic does have its effect as well. There's no denying this as well. A person should take precaution. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned in regards to these surahs that there's no surahs like these ever revealed before, neither in the Torah or in the Injil, as was mentioned with Surah Al-Fatiha as well. The Prophet ﷺ gave advice in terms of reciting these surahs. Some narrations mention 3 times in the morning and evening. Some narrations mention after every salah at least once. So you should make an effort of doing this. Prophet ﷺ would read it with Surah Al-Ikhlas 3 times before going to bed, and use spittle in his hands. Not spit, but make a spittle gesture like and he would spread it on his body. He would read Ikhlas, Falaq and Nas and do this 3 times. So once he would read these surahs, do the spittle and spread it on his body. Second time he would do all 3 surahs and do the same thing, and then a third time as well. And even when he became ill, he would do this as well. When he became so ill in the times of passing away, Hazrat Aisha would do this, but she would use his hands, the barakah of his hands, and then she would spread it on his body in this way. So these are the best things to do. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahabi that Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas 3 times in the morning and evening will suffice you from all types of harm. So a person should make sure they make a habit of reading this, and it will protect them from the harm of this world, which is the harms that can affect us through the creation. And ultimately Surah Al-Nas will teach us to protect us. It will teach us words which will protect us from the harms of the hereafter, which is waswasa of shayateen and going onto the wrong path, and a person's akhirah being destroyed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the understanding and give us the ability to recite these surahs and use these for protection. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqihi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.